Horror movies have a history of putting scary twists on music where you could never hear them again without thinking about its movie counterpart, such as the remix of I Got Five on It on the movie Us by Jordan Peele. Horror is probably one of the only genres where the score soundtrack is just as important or more important than any other genre there is, other than, of course, musicals. A good use of a song can further develop the antagonist of the film or give deeper meaning, foreshadowing, and thematic richness to a film. We all know how important the soundtrack is to the genre, as Jordan Peele once said. The difference between comedy and horror is the music. There are layers to why a song or score is used in film. A good example of this is the song Don't Fear the Reaper that plays in the beginning of 1978's Halloween. While Laurie and her friend share a cigarette, this song is used to subtly hint at things to come. And by things to come, I mean the Reaper is coming, aka Michael Myers. Other great uses of music in horror is Red Right Hand by Nick Cave in the Scream franchise, which I personally love that song. And it's used in, I think, every film in that franchise. I love this song, and it gives me the Western feel that's really only kind of synonymous to Scream. I'm personally not a fan of hard metal, but I appreciate its inclusion in Jason versus Freddy and Bride of Chucky, as they were both directed by the same guy. The music gives it such a different vibe that those franchises never had before, but somehow they fit perfectly. I also need to mention music doesn't always mean songs, as it could be poetry, which we saw used in 20 years later with the poem Boots by Rudyard Kipling. I hope I pronounced that correctly. Such a dope use of that poem. So creative and so epic. There isn't a lot of overused music in horror, but there are some. For a song to be overused, it doesn't have to be played in multiple random horror movies. It could be played multiple times in the same franchise, and no other franchise is the epitome of this than the Insidious franchise, with the use of the song Through the Tulips by Tiny Tim. The most iconic use of the song is, of course, in the first Insidious, when the mom is going through the living room and the little boy ghost is running around and she's following him. But what movie are we on now? The sixth one? I think the first installment uses the song alongside the atmosphere and the scary imagery built by the director to really enhance the movie and make it iconic. But that's really the only time I could say that about the use of the song. The rest of the moments in this franchise never live up to Insidious 1 and fall short of ever scaring me again. They should have never kept putting the song in other installments and kept it for the one time. That's also a sentiment I share with the entirety of this franchise, that I'm not really a big fan of Insidious 4 and 5, 6, whatever movie they are right now. Nothing is more overused in horror than children's lullabies. I can think of so many horror movies that use this to either great results or a very questionable results. From Evil Dead to this year's Undertone, children lullabies are definitely overused and show no signs of stopping. I see why, as it's an easy way to creep people out, and nothing is more scary than the dichotomy of having something so innocent that is meant to relax and ease us as kids now being used as to scare us as adults. This is one of those cases that I'm neither negative nor positive about the overuse of these songs, as I'm only stating this because it is very much overused. And I'm just pointing out that it's a horror cliche at this point. But I don't really mind this cliche, since the chances of me liking it seems to be 50-50. I'm okay with those odds. I would say my favorite use of a lullaby is Nightmare on Elm Street's, 1, 2, Freddy's coming for you. It's the perfect blend of creepy, unsettling, and foreboding. My least favorite use would probably go to Rockabye Baby, scene in Strangers Chapter 2. This next song is overused, but not really in horror as much as in general. And I'm only placing it here because it irks me that any other movie should be allowed to use this song other than the original, and that is Mr. Sandman, which got famous because of its inclusion in the original Halloween. When I heard it in Stranger Things, that was the last straw. No one else is allowed to use that song but the Halloween franchise. Speaking of old timey music, that is also a trope that is very much overused. So many horror movies have a song from the 30s or 40s that sound innocent and a good time, but then if used correctly, is flipped to terrify you. This trope is done a lot, and I usually like it, but I do have to point out how often I do see it in horror. Luckily, it's always successful, and I can't really think of a time it has failed to at least make me uncomfortable. The last piece of music that is overused, and I would say is the most overused thing in horror movies in general, is the loud noise that comes with a jump scare. We all know that sound. It comes in a different sounds, but it's always the same outcome: a loud and abrupt sound. It's my least favorite cliche, as well as my least favorite overused piece of music. I'm counting it as music as it's noise. Yeah, it may be cheating, but let me rant a bit. I think jump scares with a loud noise meant to startle you irritates me and kills all the tensions that the movie has built upon to this point. This is a subject for another video, but I just know I can't stand loud jump scares. I truly believe if you show a scary imagery and have zero music, it will be 10 times scarier than adding nonsensical loudness over it. Overall, I do love that music in horror is actually not that of a prevalent problem where every other genre does have that problem. We all know a song that plays in every other type of movie, and you know exactly what type I'm talking about, right? We all have seen. Have you ever seen the rain? We could name 3 or 4 movie scenes that have had that song in the background. It's so overused, and I love that horror doesn't really have that problem. Most horror movies have their own unique soundtracks with great choices of music that not only heightens the movie but sometimes brings forth the song to a mass audience. It is a mutual relationship where all 3 parties benefit, which I can't say the same in any other genre. How does Eye of the Tiger benefit from being in so many horrible movies other than the movie it was initially made for? There are so many horror greats that have an OST that I have on my playlist, like It Follows, Deep Red, 28 Days Later, this year's Obsession. There are so many great original music. Anyways, this is the Horror Spaces, and thank you for coming over. I appreciate it. Peace out.